So I really don't like doing these news snippets because I feel like I'm not a news journalist. I don't want to be providing news, but I don't really see anyone covering these things. Anyways, first, I want to make sure that this Mark Edwards lecture at Michigan University gets a little bit more attention. So every video that I do, I want to start off by making sure that you watch the video if you haven't. I'll have the links in my description below. Now, what I want to do in this segment is talk about three incoming political movements, and they seem to be just on the progressive side. So, as you all know, that the Democratic Party is kind of broken. So, what they're trying to do is fix it. Now, Justice Democrats is one. It's started by Cenk Uygur's TYT, and Secular Nation's Kyle Kulinski is pushing for it pretty good. You really don't see it that much from Jimmy Dore. He mentions it on occasion. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but from what he doesn't say much in his YouTube videos, I think he's not actively against it. Let's just say that. But I don't think he's actively supporting it. For TYT politics, I think you're going to get some more support. I think they're, supporting it, but they're not going to really be too much involved into it. Now, the reason why, I gave some strategic flaws that they might need to work on, and some helpful suggestions. I'm not sure if they watched it or not. Probably not, but it's free. I'm giving it to them for free, whatever. The another problem that I probably see that I probably didn't talk about is the movement starting by Cenk Uygur. Now, if you haven't been into the Young Turks for a while, I think I might know why. Cenk, he's got a good network going online, but he tends to float around, right? He was really all in for Bernie, at least that's what you would think, and then when Bernie lost it, he was pretty much all in for Hillary Clinton. And if you want a movement like Justice Democrats, I think it would have been better started off without Cenk starting it. It's a perception thing, right? You don't want to, when you see Cenk Uygur's name on the Justice Democrats movement, you're just people who followed the whole progress of the Bernie Sanders primary run in 2016. I'm pretty sure they remember, right? They're probably not gonna want to be in on this Justice Democrats movement. Another movement that's going on is brand new Congress, and it's gonna try to go across multiple political parties, so not just Democrats but also the Republicans, in getting representatives in Congress that support all Americans, etc. Now, just like I mentioned with Cenk Uygur for Justice Democrats, if you really want people to move in on this movement, you might want to get rid of the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, Wired, Huffington Post, Daily Beast, Slate, etc. All these corporate media that are really, really big into running their own narrative. They're going to be running their own candidates to go against the candidates that are already in. So basically, it's going to be a choice for no choice at all. What I believe, and this is just a belief because I didn't look into it, because my thoughts are, and it's based on a belief, that they just want your information to know how many people are really into this movement of getting progressives and progressives in and corporatists out of actual Congress. Just like all this hoopla, whatever. I don't know. I'm horrible at these things. All this commotion about getting Bernie Sanders' email list, especially the Democratic Party. They really want his list so they could see all these progressives that are really for him and how Bernie Sanders did it. So I believe this is a trick. Do I know for sure? No, I don't. But based on looking at this information, all these that support it, looking at the Rachel Maddow, how she's really prominent and the only one that kind of talks about it, and this is on November 23, and this is kind of going on for a while, I think. So my belief is it's not really a movement. It's just garnering names to see where to get more data. Why do I think this? I told you, kind of. Okay, so the third, and this is one I actually kind of like. So Lee Camp of Redacted Tonight had an interview with Nick Brana. He was a staffer. He was the director of national director of political outreach coordinator or something like that in the Bernie Sanders campaign. You can look it up. It's pretty easy. Just type in his name and then you'll see his name with Bernie Sanders campaign listed in the staff. Now, he's going to form a third party, and he's really, really making a push for Bernie Sanders to join it. I think it can work. There's no real details on it yet. As long as the party moves in the correct direction of actually getting a lot of people in line from all across the board, not just Democrats, but progressives, libertarians, Republicans, and Democrats, and a bunch of independents that really aren't involved in politics because they see it just as kind of a non-choice. It can be a big party. The Green Party, I think, had its problems. You couldn't go against that, but they just didn't really have a big direction. They kind of latched on to Bernie Sanders movement, and their platform in 2012 wasn't that big. It wasn't nearly the same as 2016, but their movement was based off of Bernie Sanders movement. Now, the thing about a new party is you have to have a clear line in the sand, okay? If you're gonna be against corporate elitists, millionaires and billionaires running the country, then you're gonna want to make sure that you don't use corporate media either, and you don't want big donors. You don't want Citizens United. You're gonna want to be against that, because that's something that every person that's not really really hardline Republican, hardline Democrat, they're going to actually be for that. You might get maybe, I'd say, 75 to 80% of people that vote actually follow that ideology. So you really have to make sure that you're not creating further divide. You're actually trying to get people in together, because there's about 45% of the voting base that didn't vote, that don't normally vote in our elections. If you can even get 30% of those people, I mean, that already you can win an election. You can put a lot of people in Congress. But I think if you even take 5% or 10% from each the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, or even garner support of libertarians, and just ignore the people who don't vote, you're going to win. So if done right, a new party could actually hold traction. But how they set up that party is going to be a big deal. I wanted to talk a little bit more about political strategy and political strategists. Because if you've never thought that politics was strategic, I don't know where you've been. I don't know if you trust politicians and businessmen of everything what they say, and if you do, then I think you're um, an idiot. All right, just I don't know of any real honest politician except for Bernie Sanders at the moment. He keeps it real. He's not a sellout. That's why there was a big movement for him. Um, and a person's character says a lot about what he'll do for the public good. And there's not a lot of people out there. That's why I put a lot of traction towards Tim Black and H.A. Goodman. They may say a lot of crazy things, but they are they keep it real. I like what Tim Black says. He says, if you're honest, you don't have to remember what you said in the past, and that's I believe that. I don't need to remember a lot of things I said in the past. I mean, I probably said a lot of bad things, right? But it's based off of what I was feeling at the time. But it wasn't going to be a lie, right? It was based off of some form of investigation I had, some humor that I have that was pertain to that topic. But anyways, I'm getting off of this. So what you'll see in the future from me are going to be political strategy and some history of political strategists and how they did, what types of strategies that they did, and how it worked and how it didn't. It's just, of course, my hobby to go into these things. So if you've never done that type of research and you're actually interested in hearing that, just let me know in the comments, especially who and what they did to win and things like that. And I'll make sure that I include those topics. All right.